Our State Commissioner of Education is our guest tonight. There's some new innovative programs coming.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Commissioner Ken Wagner is here to talk to us about some of the kind of hybrid plans, seems to me, my words, on the new mandatory testing for the kids. And, we've been up and down and all around in terms of how we do that kind of business. Also want to get his take on some of this 2-year free college education stuff from Governor Armando. And she is on a full court press. I just got, word from her press secretary. Can she get on? Yeah, of course she can get on. And she can argue with me all day long about it. But stay tuned for those details. Great to have you aboard. Thanks for tuning in on this Wednesday evening in the early spring. Let us go to the rundown and check on some things. Yeah, she's back. Hillary Clinton, more or less making statements like this. Here's the headline. That's a lot to blame. Here's an update on what's going on in Washington with the director and all that.
Thank you very much.
FBI Director James Comey is on Capitol Hill for another round of testimony.
Thank you for having this annual oversight hearing about the FBI.
Senators from both sides of the aisle grilled Comey about his judgment on the investigations into both Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server and Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election.
Are these mere allegations, just a partisan smear campaign that manipulated our government into chasing a conspiracy theory?
It's not just lawmakers who are upset with Comey. Hillary Clinton blames the FBI director as one of the reasons why she lost the presidential election.
I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th.
Why was it necessary to announce 11 days before a presidential election that you were opening an investigation?
This was terrible. It makes me mildly nauseous to think that we might have had some impact on the election, but honestly, it wouldn't change the decision.
President Trump responded in a tweet. FBI Director Comey was the best thing that ever happened to Hillary Clinton, and added the Trump-Russia story was just an excuse used by the Democrats as justification for losing the election.
Note, mildly nauseous. I thought that was kind of interesting. This is an old story. Nobody has any interest in this anymore. And Donald Trump is, I think, foolish enough to get into the mix here. But do you know he had a big thing happen yesterday. Here's a headline. Yeah, he talked to that guy. I think that's kind of important. And guess what? That comes right off the news cycle when he starts reacting to Hillary Clinton, who's reacting to Comey, and Comey's reacting to Hillary Clinton, and all that kind of thing. Can we move on, please? Pre-existing conditions. This is the key issue right now in Washington. The Affordable Care Act didn't make it last time around, and now they're pushing underneath the radar screen somewhat to try to get this thing done. The Republicans are pretty confident that they've got some momentum now in the House.
We're excited about this policy. We're making very good progress with our members, and our president has been instrumental in that.
They get insured like everyone else. It's just that their expenses get paid out of a different bucket, and that allows them to have coverage without driving everyone else's premiums up.
I just can't help but think if they took it to the floor now, they would end up having the votes they need.
Here's the thing. These high-risk pools are not just separate funding mechanisms. They are separate discretionary charging mechanisms. And the legislature in each state will be in a position to actually guide and or regulate the insurance companies as to how much they can charge. The insurance companies are looking for discretion on what they can charge people for their pre-existing conditions. They can't deny coverage, but there's no cap on what they can charge them. Who's fooling who here? This will never get through the Senate. And unless and until there's some evenness when it comes to the guarantee on expense for the health care premiums, Obamacare will continue to be the law of the land. They're not going to make it. All right, let's move on here. This is the hometown controversy. He has been recalled. 1,772 votes to recall, 158 to hang around. Channel 12 followed the story closely.
In a historic move, a first for the city of Providence, its longest-serving city councilor has been recalled from office.
So I'm always going to be there for them.
We caught up with Kevin Jackson minutes after hearing his constituents overwhelmingly voted to remove him from office. The The 58-year-old was indicted in July on charges he embezzled more than $125,000 from a Providence youth track and field team. Following his arrest, Tricia Kammerer launched the recall effort in Ward 3.
This is a win for democracy. This is a win for good government, ethical representation, and it's very clear tonight that that's what the voters of this ward are looking for.
Kammerer tells us it's a shame it got to this point, as did a last-minute voter we spoke with minutes before the polls closed.
I think it's distracting because we have a lot of really important issues in the community, but it's necessary because if someone has broken the law, they need to be held accountable.
Jackson says this outcome doesn't surprise him. He says the campaign against him was well organized, and Tuesday's result reflected that. City Council now has to set a special election in the next 90 days. Jackson hopes whoever fills his role won't split the community of Ward 3 or squash the voice of its minority population.
Mount Hope is the first African-American community, not only in the city of Providence, but in the state of Rhode Island. Do not let what happened to Benefit Street happen to Mount Hope.
I don't even know what that means. To be honest with you, the idea here that the campaign against him was organized cracks me up. Maybe, Councilman, you ought to get organized. Maybe you ought to file your paperwork with the Board of Elections. Maybe you ought to think about the idea that when a public figure of your stature gets charged with 6 figures worth of embezzlement and $12,000 worth of misuse of your campaign funds, that there's a higher purpose to stepping away rather than causing all this kind of turmoil. Standing ovation last night. The Boston fans trying to make a comeback here. Here was the headline. Of course, here was the first comment that Adam Jones made a couple of nights ago after he says a lot of racial stuff was thrown his way.
You tell me I suck. Please, that's what I personally want, because that's how the game is supposed to be. That's how the competitiveness is supposed to be. I don't want no love, no support. I don't need all that stuff. I just want the fans to be normal and enjoy themselves, be cheering on your team, but be respectful of where you're at.
Yeah, do you know there's only 62 African-American players in the major leagues right now? I heard that on the Gress show last night. That is fascinating. There's just a lot of Dominican and Latin players that, you know, sometimes people confuse for African-American. I think that's an incredibly low number. But here's the point. This stuff's got to stop. And Boston fans, New England fans, have got to rebuild a reputation because of the activity of a few. The governor and the mayor of Boston reacted strongly yesterday, and the fans did the right thing with a standing ovation, and Adam Jones appreciated that.
I've never on the road gotten any ovations or anything like that, so it just caught me off guard a little bit. So I just was like, oh, okay, this is something different, and I just wanted to get in the box and get on with the game.
All right, let's get on with the game. Let's improve the way we do business. Alrighty, there's a lot going on in education in the state of Rhode Island, and back to talk to us about it from a headline here and a whole lot more is our Ed Commissioner. Commissioner, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
You've been flying under the radar somewhat. I mean, this new program is public conversation, but you have been toiling without much controversy. Is that part of the strategy?
Sure. I mean, when the governor introduced me to Rhode Island 2 years ago, she said I was a workhorse, not a show horse. I'm trying to live up to that introduction.
What is the cliff note on the new proposal for student accountability? Then we'll kind of break it down and talk about it.
So the Fed, we need to come up with a new accountability plan by federal law. One of the things we're doing is we're trying to round out our accountability measures to include additional kinds of things beyond just test scores and graduation rates. Things like chronic absenteeism, disciplinary rates, student access to advanced coursework. And we're also trying to give more control and authority and power to the schools and the districts, so the state isn't telling people what to do, the state is helping people improve their own schools. And Representative Amore introduced legislation last year that also requires us to put together a plan around comprehensive supports around curriculum, professional development, and school-based leadership. So as part of that conversation, we said, look, it was never about the test. So what if we kept our standards in place, what teachers are teaching in classrooms, keep that the same, but we switched our service providers, our partners, for our test. And once we started asking that question, we said, well, wait a second, maybe we should partner with Massachusetts in the elementary and middle school grades, because they have a reputation as being best in nation in terms of the work that they've done. And at the high school level, what if we partnered with the College Board, because students are taking the PSAT and SAT for their college purposes, so maybe we could have a twofer where students take the same test for college as well as for the federal accountability rules.
Well, it sounds to me like it takes a little bit of humility to make that kind of decision. It seems like a good one to me. We'll talk about it and break it down when we come back. Stay with us. When you decided that you were going to at least latch on to some of what Massachusetts is doing and the College Board, you know, I have to respect that, because one of the things that I think happens, and this is no comment necessarily on our former commissioner, who I think was a change agent and ran into an unnecessary amount of turbulence, but the greater fool theory can apply whenever new leadership comes in and everybody wants to re-engineer everything from the ground up for purposes of putting their signature on something and or, you know, establishing their own resume. Sometimes finding best practices where they are is the right kind of thing to do. I credit you with that. What was your thinking there?
Yeah, it was exactly that. This isn't about me or any individual person. This is about long-term sustainability and what are the best partnerships that we can put into place to increase our game, our teaching and learning for the long haul. And I think that's really the reason why Massachusetts has seen such dramatic results. They made really fundamental decisions back in 1993 around high standards, high expectations, accountability, leadership, teaching and learning, and they stuck to it for 25 years, and we see those kinds of results. So this was not about the test, like one test was better than the other test. It was really about the partnerships at the elementary and middle school level, because Massachusetts has a lot to teach us and we have a lot to teach Massachusetts. So let's build that partnership.
What do we have to teach Massachusetts?
I think that we are doing a lot of really good work about engaging students. It's not just enough to have high standards and great teaching, which I think that we need to continue to improve around that, but it's also about how do you close those achievement gaps, which I think are really opportunity gaps. And that really goes to the core of how we design our schools and how we engage kids in ways that are relevant. So we're thinking a lot about career readiness in all levels of our schooling. So when we're teaching students academic content, it's also aligned to hands-on experiential skills that they're going to need in the workforce. So that continuum between K-12 systems, higher ed systems, and the workforce is really, really important. I think Rhode Island is ahead of the curve in those kinds of areas.
Yeah, I have to tell you something. I talk about this all the time. It is amazing to me how important elementary school is. And the reason I know
and
is
early childhood.
Oh, sure. Well, okay. So if I've learned that, then I'll buy what you're saying. Here's how I learned it. You know, my kid, who will be graduating from college next week, still is challenged by the kind of math that she did not get in the 3rd and 4th grade. Now, she's doing just fine, but she's got to work so incredibly hard. And there was a gap. You weren't here when we had the investigation math controversy, and it was like 3 or 4 years where we were shoving that down our kids' throats, and it really wasn't working in terms of fundamentals and algorithms and all that kind of thing. I'm not asking you to answer for that at all, but my point is that I learned how incredibly important these layers of K1, 2, 3, 4 are. They are not just, you know, buying time to get into the real world to start learning real things. The fundamentals learned there have a lifelong impact. I learned that.
Yeah.
Reaction?
Absolutely. The foundations matter. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind is students have to struggle. They have to struggle in a good way, in a way surrounded by competent and caring teachers who help them struggle. But if students don't struggle and build their capacity to synthesize information, to form their own opinion, to articulate their voice, to argue in writing and orally and so on, if they don't struggle with that starting in the very earliest ages, with content that's worth learning and skills that are worth demonstrating, they won't be prepared for high school, they won't be prepared for college.
So is that a warning to parents whose kids don't look like they're struggling?
I think that we need to find situations that allow students to struggle in an appropriate way. We can't wait until kids are in the workforce to ask them to make decisions and to figure things out. They need to make decisions and figure things out, find their voice in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, as they build literacy, as they build basic skills in mathematics, and then take that and make it more and more integrated with job-relevant skills for the economy, and then they will truly be prepared.
Well, listen, I think this workhorse thing is certainly a very productive disposition. It seems like the unions right now have been it's the most quiet time I've seen in Rhode Island education in terms of unions fighting with, the big picture leadership here. Characterize for me what the working relationship is like right now.
I think it's been fine. I mean, we have principled disagreements sometimes.
Such as?
Particularly around the whole role of choice and family empowerment. I've been talking a lot about school-based empowerment, which I think teachers are very supportive of, shared leadership, teachers being more a part of their own professional development, designing learning spaces. But I also talk in the same breath about family empowerment. Systems don't change unless they have to change, and there needs to be pressure from within the system to get better, but there also needs to be external pressure to drive innovations, adaptations, responsiveness, and so on. We can't just rely on people moving from one community to another to force change in the system. We also have to give families and students a direct opportunity. It does not have to be just school choice, though. There's a lot of work that's happening around course choice, and we're talking a lot about course pathways for students. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's happening in our career and technical education, where because there is competition, programs are upping their game and they're offering things that kids would not have had 5 years ago.
I've always felt that intra-public school choice is a home run concept. Now, you got the arguments between charter and traditional schools, and that's been somewhat quiet lately too, although it's always a percolating controversy. But I've always felt that if a kid, on the west side of Providence wants to get a seat in Barrington because they want to be challenged there, that should be an avenue for that. It seems to me that transportation is the big problem in creating a real intra-public school choice program.
Yeah,
yes,
we
no?
introduced a bill last year to provide exactly that, inter-district enrollment options, because schools can't possibly do all of it for all kids. Schools need to specialize because resources are limited, but then the kids shouldn't have to adapt to what the school that they happen to live in offers. They should be able to go to other schools. If one school's a science school and another school's an art school and the kids happen to be in the right school, they should be able to switch. But you're right to address the logistical thing around transportation. We have started to push our own vendors to introduce minivans and full-size vans as opposed to large school buses, because we're living in a time where you can get a ride share for $15 from point A to point B, and we turn that $15 ride into a $500 bus purchase. It doesn't have to be that way. So we're trying to get it where school districts, for example, could purchase a minivan and get their teachers, for example, a chauffeur's license, which isn't as hard to get as a school bus license. And then we could get 2 or 3 or 4 kids from point A to point B at a fraction of the cost.
Tell me,
those kind of details really matter for school improvement.
Tell me about Rhode Island versus Mass real quick. I mean, I've seen some data. The Lieutenant Governor's actually shown me some data. I was trying to make a point to me recently that even the best of Rhode Island, say high schools, our best versus, say, Massachusetts' best, that we're not matching up in any way, a credible form. A, do you agree with that data? And B, is there a way that we can change that?
Yeah, I mean, the data are what they are. There's
you don't argue the data, do you?
You can't argue the data.
Right.
On many measures, including the NAEP scores, which is a national assessment, the PARC scores, and so on, we're 10 to 20 percentage points lower than Massachusetts. The city of Boston scored higher than Rhode Island did as a state. So we can't argue with the data. But there's nothing, we have all the talent in our system that we need to improve our system. Everything that we need is here. We don't have to export, we don't have to bring in smarty pants from outside, we don't have to export people from Rhode Island or Massachusetts or whatever. We can figure this out with our own teachers, our own kids. We just have to set high expectations. We have to be flexible in terms of how we organize schools and how we organize the way we support our teachers, and we need to stay the course.
When we come back, there's a special event the Commissioner wants to tell you about, and I want to get his take on the Governor's plan for 2 years of free college tuition. Stay with us.
And what I like about the proposal that the governor brought forward is that it directly addresses that fundamental issue of affordability for very many Rhode Islanders. And we know that that's true.
I have high admiration for the president at URI, and I also respectfully disagree on this college tuition program. Before I get into it with the commissioner, I just want to make sure that you tell us about this event that you've got coming up here.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, once a year I'm required to give a report, State of Education report, to the General Assembly and the governor. And this year we're shaking it up a bit. We've done it in the State House in the past. This year we're going to do it in a school at the Davies Career and Technical High School. And it's going to be about student voice. So we have a student showcase with, I think, 10 different school groups showing off the things that they're doing really well in their schools before. That's from
You dragging like General Assembly to Davies?
We invited people from across the state. Yep.
As opposed to coming into the State House.
Yeah, we're doing it in a school, and then I'll give my remarks, and then we're having a question and answer session where the questions were created by students, selected by our statewide student advisory group, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Is that more than just creativity? Is there a message you're sending there by changing the venue?
Well, no, I think the message is that we're focusing on schools and students. We talk a lot about education, and we need to anchor it in it's really about kids, and it's really about student voice. And that's something, from the time I was a high school student to the time that I'm a commissioner, you will always hear me say we need to focus on voice. Student voice matters.
So you take a little bit of the government hoopla away and get right down to the core principle of what
remember,
you're
I'm a workhorse, not a show horse.
I got to be honest with you. Love that. Not so sure the General Assembly does, but guess what? Oh well. 2 years of free college tuition. It's something I hated. I'd like to see, and this is not your bailiwick because you're running the other section of the public education domain here, but tuition freezes, more money to the university, and Rick and CCRI, I'm all about it. But this particular semantical argument that the governor's making, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, so I focus, so you can make a higher ed case, as the president just made. You can make an economic case, as the governor makes over and over, about a density of credentials that can help drive the economy. What I'm focused on is the K-12 side, and I like that we call it the Rhode Island Promise, because it really is about the promise that we make to our kids. And Senator DePalma really captured it well. In the 19th century, the promise was through 8th grade, because that's what you needed. You needed to read, write, and do numbers. In the 20th century, the promise was through high school, because we needed to upgrade our promise because you needed it for the economy. Now it's the 21st century, and the governor's just recognizing the economy changed, the world changed, so our promise should change. I don't see this as a free giveaway. I see this as a rational decision about how we collectively invest in the future of our state that has economic impact, that has economic impacts, that has...
That's the governor calling saying, thank you, Commissioner, for your support.
That has an economic impact, has a higher ed impact, but it also, what I see as most exciting is this will anchor what we do in K-12, because if we make this promise to kids, then we have to keep our promise to get them ready for it. So K-12 accountability, it gets upgraded hugely with this piece, because if we make the kids the promise that they can do it in college, we have to get them ready.
Yeah, I see an argument for K-14, and I see an argument for CCRI and a continuum there. I don't see the argument here for 2 years of free college tuition marketed the way it is, even though it's after grant and after all that kind of thing. I see it as a political banner as opposed to a solution.
What I will say is the governor's team was very smart about looking at what other states have done and setting up incentives to make this work in a different way. And by incentivizing completion in the four-year space, I think was very smart, and by including wraparound services in the community college space, because one of the things that happens, students get into college, but they don't finish.
Listen, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Don't be a stranger. Keep working. I like that out of the General Assembly move. Good. Be right back. Dan McGowan will break down the politics of Providence and the recall election et al. Tomorrow on the program. Don't forget, tune in at 3 on WPRO on the radio side. Thanks for watching. Good night.